Hey everybody, Rabbi Mordecai Finley here. As I have been preparing for our high holidays, the theme of which is existentialism, I've been looking at this book, Psychology and Existentialism by Viktor Frankl, subtitled Selected Papers on Logotherapy. What is the connection between logotherapy and existentialism? First of all, both logotherapy, which is a therapy of meaning, and existentialism are forward-directed. They're not looking at our past as if we are only products of the past, but we are products of what we regard as meaningful and how we want to live a life of meaning. Now, you can get a little sense from reading logotherapy, which is a therapy of meaning, that people have to think of something meaningful around which to organize their lives. I think that's true to a point. My experience is that we don't choose meaning as much as meaning chooses us. I think we process life some down deep in us, an area that I call the soul, where meaning and values are worked out, where our understanding of our authentic self is worked out. All these things are happening below the threshold of consciousness. When something does happen there, when something comes together, it arrives into consciousness, and suddenly you realize your life has meaning. You realize what you have to do. Let me give you just one example. Oftentimes, when I counsel a marriage in trouble, people start with their list of complaints, the list of hurts, the list of offenses. Some people feel overwhelmed. Some people feel angry. It's very, very common. The first thing I ask people to do is think about the future, not the past. That's very difficult for many people because they see themselves as functions of the past. A therapy of meaning, a logotherapy, and existentialism do not see ourselves as functions of our past, but rather functions of our intended future. So I ask people, what would you like to be like? You're sitting hurt, angry, disappointed. The question is, how would you like to live? People aren't sure. And I offer them something. It sounds a little bit new agey, but I really mean this. What it means to live in love. It's different from being in love. To live in love means you want to bring yourself to the people that you love or are supposed to love with a loving affect. Some degree of deep acceptance, some understanding that they will have to face their death as you will have to face yours, some understanding the role you play in the inner life of another person, some understanding the role you play in the quality of the life of another person, and making a decision, a daily, constant decision, that you want to be in love so that love radiates from you. It's very difficult for some people. One problem is that many people who want to live in love don't set boundaries well. They're too accepting. They can sometimes be too forgiving. So what it means to be in love can also mean that, that one loving way you can be with others is to set kind, gentle, and firm boundaries. So being in love is a starting place. How you actually effect being in love to others is complicated, takes a lot of thought, a lot of will, and especially a decision. The second thing I recommend people is to live in grace. Now, the idea of grace is all over the Hebrew Bible, certainly featured in Christianity, but I want you to give an image of grace. Think of a graceful dancer, a graceful ballet artist. A person, when you think of them, they have a kind of a poise, a kind of equilibrium, a kind of smoothness in the best sense. So when you think of that graceful system called a human being on the outside, think of the grace inside. That all the different parts of you can be shaped into a beautiful dance, a beautiful ballet. There's constant movement, but it's movement in grace. That's hard for people. It's hard for me. I mean, if I would have heard that image 25 years ago, I would not have been happy with it. The idea that I'm supposed to conduct my inner life like a graceful dancer. As I've gotten older, I realize how important it is when I look at my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings, to try to bring an inner grace, an inner sense of poise and balance. So whatever it is you're working on, whatever project you have, I actually think prior to most of the affects that we bring to the world, meditate on living in love and grace. When we meditate on living in love and grace, sometimes the meaning of our lives appears to us. And you realize that one of the core meanings of your life is how to be present to other human beings, how to be a loving and graceful presence to other human beings. In fact, I believe that as human beings, we are naturally constituted to be in a relationship, but we don't know how to do that well. We have a drive toward relationships, but we're not skilled at it. Now, I don't think wisdom is a drive. I think wisdom is a decision. I think these affects, such as love and grace, are decisions. They're not drives that are extinguished, but rather decisions that accompany us through life. So as I was reading the book, and I got the sense that he's saying, I could be mistaken, but I think he's saying choose something of meaning. I think meaning chooses us, and I think meaning chooses us when we engage in certain kinds of thought. For example, being a font of love and grace that gestates in the soul. The soul suddenly delivers up a life decision, and then our question comes to be, can we live? Can we live out? Can we live according to the decision that our soul has made?